This is lesson 3 on Beatrice. In the last lesson, I looked at some scales that fit the harmony, and I'm just going to build on that in this lesson. This is the third lesson on Beatrice. In lesson 2, I played all the scales that are on my worksheet and talked about the possibilities of leaving notes out and playing pentatonic scales. And I'd like to just look at some alternatives in this lesson. So I'm not going to start particularly from the beginning, because I think if we look at chord, it's chord 6 and it's bar 5, and concert it's the D minor chord. Now the scale I wrote out had an E natural, which is the natural 2, and I flattened the 6th. I implied you could leave out the 2nd and you could leave out the 6th, and that would give us this scale, which is the pentatonic. If you don't play a B flat, but you play a B natural, you'll get the Dorian mode, and it sounds like this. Can it be the Dorian mode? It could. I mean, there's a lot of B flats in the piece, so it might sound a bit odd, but it'll give it character. The other thing I like to look at is changing the 2nd note, which is a E natural. If you make it flatted, so that'd be E flat, it would fit much more closely to the chords before and afterwards, which is E flat major 7, and that would sound like this. And that makes it a Phrygian mode. So is it E natural? Is it E flat? Well, that's kind of the flexibility that you need to play a piece of music like this, because there are occasions where an E is used, there are occasions where an E flat is used. It's kind of how you use it, and all I would say is perhaps don't put it on strong beats, make it a passing note, so you get a tune like this, rather than go. That would sound very odd. So think about strong notes, chord tones, Ds, Fs, As, Cs, which leaves E flat, G, B flat, D as passing notes. So you get this kind of effect. And I put E flats in there and it sounded fine. If I put E naturals. See that you kind of accept that as well. Going to move forward to bar 7, and in a lot of versions you get the chords of D minor 7, C minor 7, B flat minor 7, which fits the tune. And that's a really lovely tune. When you get C minor and you get the F at the top, that's the 11th. So I really like that sound. But when I analysed the solos of Stan Getz and Joe Henderson, I realised that actually they weren't playing lines that fitted that at all. In fact, what came out of my analysis was that the chords were chord 6, D minor, the same chord, the bass just descends. And that sounds like this with a tune. So not too different really. Makes it easier to improvise because you've only got one chord effectively in that bar, because the C in the bass is just a passing note and it doesn't really affect the harmony. Then we get to the bar A minor 7, bar 9. And again, A minor 7, I've implied the Dorian, but really you could try a lot of different scales. You could try, for instance, it probably makes more sense to play the natural 6 there, which would make it the Aeolian. Why? Because the next chord is B flat major 7. In fact, the tune goes to F at that point. So we kind of hear a predominance of Fs. Is there anything else? Maybe you could put in a flat 2, which would make it if we put in the flat, so that is the Phrygian, which is the 3rd mode. So it's got a natural 6 and a flat 3. Could we put in I mean, the possibilities are endless. Could we put in an E flat as well? Would that work? Which would make it a Locrian. Probably, that seems to be fine. So there's lots and lots of variety there. Which is the right one? Again, if you stick to the chord tones and use them all as passing notes, most of the time it will work. Now, obviously, when you've got a chord of A minor 7, having an E flat in the right hand might sound a bit... So I probably wouldn't do that particular scale. And that's kind of looking at the chord scale relationship. They definitely don't match. But those two other scales, I'll just remind you, I introduced you to were... which was the Phrygian, and then we also tried one which was the Aeolian. And there wasn't much change on the other chords, but one of the things that I discovered by just listening to the various solos was at times at the beginning when it goes from F major 7 to G flat major 7, that you can play a harmonic minor scale, and that's the harmonic minor of the fourth mode, which in this case is B flat minor. So, and that scale, if you start it on well, either F or F sharp or G flat, same thing, they're all modes of that B flat minor harmonic, and it kind of sounds pretty cool. So that would sound like this. It just gives it, I think it's because the scale has elements of both of those chords in it. So that's another thing to try. Some interesting ideas there. What's going to be even more interesting is to see what Stan Getz does in his solo from Bossa and Ballads, the Lost Sessions. So I'll be looking at that solo in the next lesson. And that's the end of lesson 3. Join me for lesson 4, where I'll be looking at the solo of Stan Getz and playing it for you.